Hi, I'm Old Norse Specialist Jackson Crawford. I grew up in the mountains, not exactly a spot like here, although one could certainly wish. But I would get up early in the morning, just like this, and have to hop in a school bus for a real long ride down a canyon into town, picking up all the other mountain kids as we went. Now, bear with me. I was telling this story to my good friend, Dr. Luke Gordon of the University of New Mexico and his YouTube channel, Word Safari, when he told me that there was actually a pretty good point about the scholarly subjects we discuss in the story. So wait for it. I didn't know that many people up on the mountain. So, riding along on the school bus, my 10-year-old self, going to fifth grade down the canyon, just sort of listened to the other kids talking. And at the time, the Magic the Gathering card game was, I guess, in its prime. I don't know when its prime was, but a lot of kids my age were playing it. And specifically, the supplement pack called Ice Age had, I guess, recently debuted, because they were always talking about it as Ice Age. Now, I had never seen a Magic the Gathering card. None of my friends played it. So I listened to these guys talking about playing, quote, Ice Age, and, I heard them say things like, I summoned my green monster, my red monster, my white monster, my blue monster, my black monster, whatever. I don't remember what the colors were exactly, but there was all these, like, I heard colors and monsters, and they needed so much mana or whatever, and then there's green magicians, red wizards, whatever. Okay, I had no idea what these things actually referred to. So I went home, and thinking that I had kind of a sense of what this was like, wrote out on index cards these different titles, like green monster or whatever, and created for myself a card game that involved monsters and wizards, and and they were all coordinated by different colors, that had basically no resemblance to Magic the Gathering cards, especially given that I drew the pictures on the backs, and they were not professionally done, but was passably a card game, right? It did have some internal coherence. I did manage to play it with my grandma some, much to her bemusement and amusement, I think. And you could probably tell, based on the fact that I called it Ice Age, that it was based on this Magic the Gathering card game. But it was not Magic the Gathering, right? And no particular card beyond its name. I don't know if any of the cards would have actually been called Green Monster. I suppose that was more of a category, but beyond names like that, you wouldn't have been able to say, oh, this card comes from that card. Right, because I'd never even seen the original cards. I'd only heard them discussed. So the point that my good friend Dr. Luke Gordon made to me is that the runes, which he and I have much discussed the origins of, might have an origin very similar to my school bus imagined version of the Magic the Gathering card game, where someone speaking a really Germanic language, let's even say Proto-Germanic, as the Elder Futhark runes match the phonology of Proto-Germanic quite well, has encountered someone writing with an alphabet, perhaps an early Celtic people using an alphabet somewhat inspired or identical to or developed from the alphabet in use in the Alps by Lepontic speakers, and has not fully grasped exactly what every letter does. Sort of grasped, right? R looks like an R, O looks like an omega, F looks like an F, but also done some kind of unexpected things. Maybe come back home and not really remember what order things were in, and just written them down in kind of whatever order happened to occur to him. Who knows? But been distantly inspired more by the notion of an alphabet and some kind of half-remembered ideas of what letters look like without quite us today being able to say, well, this letter comes from that letter in this progenitor alphabet. Because the relationship isn't exactly like that. There's confusion, to use an ungenerous term, or adaptation, forgetfulness, in the interim there somewhere. So that the idea of the alphabet is inspired by one or more Mediterranean alphabets, but the specific shapes of letters and the values those letters have is only imperfectly inspired. And without understanding the specific life of the person who originated these letters, we're not going to understand exactly how they relate to a progenitor alphabet. In fact, they might not exactly relate to a progenitor alphabet. Well, thanks to Luke for the discussion that originated this. I thought it was worth sharing in the middle of going through my Rune Origins series. And for now, from high up in beautiful Colorado, I'm wishing you all the best.